All right, we're ready to get started, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Val, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa?
Here. And I do want to start this meeting off with a quick invocation and a pledge of allegiance. If you could all stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today to ask for your blessings upon this meeting and this commission. Dear God, we ask you to continue to bless our city and bring amazing things to our city and protect our workers, especially our first responders. We thank you so much, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's jump right into it. We're going to go to, at this time, I will remind everybody to silence your cell phones so they don't go off in the middle of the meeting like that. And we'll jump right into the Pictona and Reserve, Pictona first. Mr. Forte.
Yeah, we're gonna jump into the Pictona conversation, and the purpose of this discussion with the commission is to get your opinions and seek some direction on where you think we might want to go. I've talked to the Martins a couple times about some very enthusiastic projections on where Pictona can go in the future in the city of Holly Hill, and there's some pretty big ideas. There's some big ideas that have a real vision to them and a real opportunity, I think, for the city of Holly Hill. We can become the International Pickleball Hall of Fame headquarters, a headquarters for a training center for coaches and referees, for educational classes. But it's going to take some doing with some facilities that we already have access to, that being the YMCA. And we may need to consider changing out our agreement with the YMCA, which is why we're here, because if you agree with the idea that's going to be presented to you this evening, I'd be seeking direction from you to go ahead and begin discussions with the YMCA to work our way out of the one-year extension of a contract that we have with them. I have to give them 180 days notice to terminate that contract. There are things that we can do in between there, but I want the Martins to kind of paint this picture for you to see if this is something that you want to entertain. Now, if it's not, then we walk away and that's the end of it. But if it is, then there's a lot of work to do, and I haven't talked to anybody at the YMCA about it yet. You know, the first order of business is getting support and direction from the commission, and then we'll go to the next steps. But there will be a lot of work to do after that, and we'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the presentation and the discussion and see where it is we want to end up. So I'm going to ask the Martins to go ahead and step to the podium and kind of let you know what their thoughts are and where we think we can go.
Great. Thank you.
Is it okay to take the mask off?
Yep.
Okay. Well, hi. Thanks, everybody, for taking time to listen to us. First of all, thank you for your support throughout the last 2 years. I think you've seen that it's paid off. We've got 550 enthusiastic members. Penny's also there.
Not so enthusiastic.
Just hang out.
Anyway, things are going well there. The tournament was financially successful for us. It made a profit of $32,000. The
Wow. That's great.
entire enterprise is $70,000 in the black, so we're doing okay. This is kind of a strange thing. I remember when we first started having meetings in your office, Joe, and you were talking with Chuck Mecklin, and Chuck inquired about the YMCA. And it's always kind of been in the back of our mind that you have this facility here, and Julie and I have a long relationship with the YMCA of the USA. We were their publisher for 21 years and used to go to Chicago and meet at their national headquarters and conceptualized many of the national programs that they roll out. So we know a little bit about the YMCA. Our view is that the YMCA here is underutilized, I guess would be the best way that I would say. I think it could do a lot more in programming for the community to bring recreational activities here. We would like to suggest to you that the YMCA become part of Pictona, an extension of Pictona, so that we would add a fitness facility and particularly a wonderful aquatics program that could be added to it. We would suggest that we could manage this facility. We might, I'll just use the name Fitness Holly Hill as a new center here. I would see it having 4 programs. One would be an aquatics program, one would be a fitness program, another would be a sports program to utilize the gymnasium a lot more, and the 4th would be a wellness program. So we would, under those 4 categories, we would do programming of all types for the community. We would try to operate it in the spirit of what the YMCA has offered, so that the cost to join would not be substantially different than what the current costs are. We'd need to study their revenues. I've had the opportunity to look at their budget a bit and their financials. It was very difficult to decipher exactly what was going on there. But anyway, so that's step 1, that we would just make this part of Pictona. Then we had this wonderful opportunity as we were having the tournament here, that we had the people that, as you probably know, I should say, that the Bainbridge Cup is going to come to Holly Hill. The Bainbridge Cup is the only major international pickleball tournament held in the world. It started in 2017. It was first held in Spain, then it went to Italy, then to Germany. This last summer it was supposed to be in the United Kingdom, but it was not held because of COVID-19. The tournament now is coming here April 7 to 11. In bringing it here, the president of the International Federation of Pickleball was here, and we got to talking about possibilities. We would like to make Holly Hill the international capital of pickleball, and I think we can do that. The International Federation of Pickleball is just emerging. It has 30 countries now as members. Its goal, one of its long-term goals is to make it an Olympic sport. It needs to have about 70 countries that are playing pickleball before that would even be considered. It would be a demonstration sport for one of the Olympics, and then if that went well, it would become an Olympic sport. The sport is growing rapidly all over the country here, and it's beginning to really grow in Europe and somewhat in Asia. So how do we make this the international capital for pickleball? We do that by, we would take a portion of the YMCA building now, and we would have a Hall of Fame in one of the rooms. I think that's the current spinning room. That's anyway.
You're out of work.
You can see up on the screen Dana Smith, our architect for Pictona, sketched this out for us. It's a little hard to see the details, but
It would be the southernmost orange-looking building there.
yes, right in the.
I'm sorry, yeah.
It's that little corner of the what would be the lower.
Yeah, the southeast corner, right by the sidewalk
Right,
there.
right, yeah. So that would become a Hall of Fame. We would, it would be somewhat unique in that a lot of smaller sports have Halls of Fame, but they are mostly on paper and not actually have a physical presence. We think having a physical presence for this would be excellent. And then we would make a virtual version of it to share around the world. Along with the Hall of Fame, we would have an annual Hall of Fame tournament here. And that Hall of Fame tournament would help sponsor the Hall of Fame and the activities that we want to bring here. So that would be an annual tournament that we would have every spring, just like the Bainbridge Cup. The Bainbridge Cup is one that has to move to a different country every year. So this is our unique opportunity to have it in the United States, but the next year it'll go to another country. So we'd have the Hall of Fame, we'd have the Hall of Fame tournament, but then the real exciting part, at least for Julie and me, is the educational component to this. We would like to be able to bring people from all over the world to come here to learn how to go back to their country and get pickleball started. So there would be a management function that we would, training that we would offer to people from around the world. We would also offer players the opportunity to learn how to play or advance their skills in playing. And there's an instructor certification program that the International Federation has developed, and we would like to bring that here and be able to offer certifications here. So those are the major activities that we'd like to do in developing that. If you look at the top of the site plan, we would like to propose to take your 3 tennis courts and resurface those and turn them into 6 pickleball courts, and maybe down the road to put a cover over those courts so that they could be used when the weather is inclement. As you've probably noticed if you've been over at Pictona, our 8 covered courts are by far the most popular courts. I thought we covered them mostly for rain, but the summer, nobody wanted to go outside. They wanted to play under the covered courts. And then when it's windy, they want to play there because it's less windy than elsewhere. So rain, shine, wind, covered courts are appealing. So we're proposing that we'd like to resurface the courts and maybe down the road be able to put a cover over them. I think that's kind of the highlights of what we're suggesting. The International Federation, I've been in discussion with them. We had a Zoom call last night with the board of directors. They're very interested in this. They're eager to hear the outcome of the meeting today. So I'll leave it for you to ask questions.
Reiner, what's the white box up there, the northeast corner?
Yeah.
Can't read that.
That's the
It's actually the church.
church's apartment buildings or.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we haven't engaged them in a conversation yet, but there are about 9 or 10 bedroom units there that they're underutilized right now, and they may become a part of this if we can work out a relationship with the folks at the church, that during certain events, they may be able to rent those rooms out to Pictona.
That's where the teams come after the hurricanes that provide disaster
It's
assistance.
the disaster management group, the kids that came out there. So I have to reach out, still haven't had a chance to make contact with them, but I have to reach out to them and see if that's something that we can do, and maybe in the future that may be able to be incorporated into this whole project, or maybe even expanded upon. So we just don't know. But in this presentation, I just want to remind everyone that the basic purpose of the YMCA building will remain the same. It will still be a fitness center that will have an area for spinning, an area for weightlifting. The gymnasium will be used for basketball and volleyball and maybe some other sports, and it may open up the door for more people to participate, because right now, in order for someone to use the gymnasium, they have to go through the YMCA, and a lot of times they can't even get access to it because you have to be part of the Y program. So you either have to be a Y instructor to put on events in the gymnasium, or you have to be a Y program itself in order to have events put on. They do have some open play over there. I'm not quite sure what night that is.
One of the other potential remodeling that we'd like to do, you have handball, racquetball courts that are not used very extensively. They look like they need some repair anyway. We're thinking about taking those and redoing them, putting a roof over them, fixing up decently, and we would move the fitness component over to those two rooms, freeing up some space in the building for some of the educational work that we'd like to do. So just another idea.
So we wouldn't lose what the community has in terms of the facility, and that's part of the details that the Martins and I have to figure out, is what the cost is to the community, what's available to them, when it's available. Right now, the Y is offering a $10 per month, 24-hour access to the gym. The pool is not open year-round, although they've raised, some of the folks over there have raised money to keep the pool open, which pays for a lifeguard or two. Doesn't pay to have it heated. If we're going to heat the pool, I look back to when the Ormond Beach Y was closed down and we heated the pool, and it runs around $1,200 to $1,500 a month for those cold months when it would have to be heated. So that's a consideration that we'd have to take a look at. There's operational costs. We're already spending $45,000 a year paying the Y plus all the overhead costs. So there's opportunities here. And I look at this, and it's scary to think about, especially for me as an administrator and you as a policy and decision maker. Just as scary as it was entering into the pickleball agreement. That was new ground to take a park and convert it into pickleball. But what it reminds me of is what took place here many years ago when a sitting commission decided not to annex to the west, or a city commission decided not to do certain things that we talk about them now as having made a mistake. Like the bridge. The bridge.
Or the pool's too shallow or too short.
Right. So there are a number of things that I want to sit here and really think about this as an opportunity, and not that in 5 years from now we go, we should have become the International Pickleball Hall of Fame, the destination worldwide, known worldwide. So, it kind of puts me in a spot of, there's some risk in doing this, but what's the risk versus the reward? What could we earn out of this on an international basis? And I mentioned to John just before the meeting about Cooperstown, New York, the Baseball Hall of Fame, and we looked that up on the map, and there's not much around it other than the town of Cooperstown. It's in the middle of nowhere once you get beyond that. So, we have the potential of being a pickleball Hall of Fame that is surrounded by motorsports. So it could be a great fit. But time is kind of the essence here. We're in a period where the Bainbridge Cup is coming, international folks are coming, and not that it's going to be done in April, but it sure would be nice to know there's a plan in place if that's the direction that we want to go, to start spreading the news about it.
And since this is a workshop, we can keep it pretty open as long as we're not stepping over each other. So if you want to talk, just talk.
Back in the 50s, Bill France took a chance. He started piling dirt up out here west of town a little ways and built everything up, and built that super speedway, and look what it's become today. You have to take a chance. You have to look into the future, what's going to happen. He's not here to see it all going on now, but he passed it on to someone else. I'm all for investing. Believe me, I'm for investing and trying to make things better and greater. So if there's anything we can do to make it, to be an international fame of any kind, I would do it. I'd be for it.
Nice to hear.
I think you can
Thank
make
you.
it happen. You're already shown you can make a profit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I agree that we would be taking a chance. However, it's not as if we were doing business with somebody that we haven't done business with before. We haven't had a project, well, at least for me, it went beyond my expectations. I can't speak for everybody else, but Pictona went beyond my expectations. And it really opened my eyes up. A sport I knew nothing about a couple of years ago. It was a couple of weekends after we first saw you guys that I was over at Disney. Oh, imagine that. I was at Disney. And they have every ESPN channel known to man. And so we're flipping through, and there was a tournament out in California. And Forrest and I started talking. I said, this is really a big sport. And as I Googled it, I began to find out more information. And it started, 1965, I think it was? Somewhere around in
That's
there?
about right.
So it's withstood time, and it's really rapidly growing as a sport, like you said. And I believe if we go ahead and continue the road of success that we're on, with expanding to the international level, and the education and everything that's encompassed here, I believe this is our chance to continue something very successful. And I think that there's another city that's probably really sorry that they kind of flubbed their nose at it. And I think this is our opportunity.
I'm grateful that the Martins are here to bring this opportunity to us, because even if they weren't here tonight, I think we would be having this conversation in about 6 months as to what we're going to do with that facility. Meaning, if you go over there from 11:30 to 4:30, you could shoot a shotgun in the building and there's no one there. Reiner said it's underutilized. It's underutilized because it's underprogrammed. There's people that want to use that facility, but there's very limited programming that goes on there. You can't compare this Y to any other Y in the organization. And I was on the board for several years, and
Are you still on the
I
board?
recently had to resign.
Okay.
So if you go to Ormond and want to join a spin class, there's probably 5 a day. If you want to take a spin class here, I teach 2, and there's only 1 other for the whole week. The water activities over there are very limited. The water aerobics ladies are loyal as a hound dog. They've collected money to keep the pool open October, November, and possibly December. One of the members contributed a thermal blanket for the pool. It's not being heated, but it is retaining some of the heat, and they go in every day. But I think it's an opportunity that if we sit here and do nothing, and I'm an insurance guy, so what's the worst thing that can happen? Worst thing is to happen, we go down this international road, and it doesn't work. I see this as a plan A to the plan B that we would have to be going down 6 months from now. YMCA International expects upwards of 1/3 of all the YMCA organizations throughout the country to not exist this time next year because of COVID. A lot of their funding has been based on the pay per visit through third parties, through your insurance company, and the people aren't attending. So what used to be a $40 a month membership that was automatically deducted from your checking account is now a $0 membership to the user, but they get paid $4 every time you show up. And if you're not showing up, there's no funding. So you look at their financial statement, and it's pretty grim. They've had major layoffs. They've laid off a lot of their hourly workers, a lot of their department heads. The marketing department, which used to be in the land, is now the front desk of Holly Hill YMCA because they had to terminate all the employees, and the head of the marketing department for the whole organization sits over there and does her marketing all day long because there's no one in the facility from 11:30 to 4:30. The morale is terrible there. The executive director that was running our facility just resigned last week. All the execs were given anywhere from a 10 to a 20% pay cut, mandatory pay cut to keep your job. Thank you. So I see it as fortuitous that the Martins are here before us today with a solution before the problem even gets here. And to solve that problem and then leap forward to an international presence, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the Bainbridge Cup is a big deal. Pictona is a big deal. The international headquarters in the Hall of Fame for pickleball, who would have thought of that 10 years ago? So I fully support it. The only thing I would ask is that I know we're talking about pickleball, but the two tennis courts, there's two tennis courts there that are now 6 pickleball courts. The only concern I would have is that we don't ever want to take anything away from the citizens, and nobody plays tennis anymore, except last night when I left the YMCA, the lights were on. There were 2 couples over there playing tennis. Is any way to double stripe those like they're double striped now, or is that just totally something you think we should not even think about?
We really find that the appeal of what we've built over at Pictona is that we have each court fenced in.
Okay, so
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 if
you
we
duplicate over there, so it wouldn't
Yeah,
work. Okay.
yeah, we really want to do that. And serious pickleball players don't want to be looking at double lines.
Got you.
You know, I don't know, maybe Dana knows. Dana's behind you. The area between the church building and the pickleball courts, is that big enough to put a set of, maybe one tennis court? You know, if we really want to keep. a
If
tennis court-
that drawing's to scale, I would say yes. I just don't know where our
Yeah,
property line
I
is.
don't know if it's to scale. I don't know where the property line is.
If Dana did it, you know it's to scale. But that's the only thing is that, and that's a small little detail that we could work out. I know we're at the 30,000 foot level, but it's just exciting to think of that pool being opened year round, the educational possibilities, and just people coming to our community. And you may not have to say when you meet someone where you're from, Holly Hill, oh, it's right next to Daytona. People might start knowing where Holly Hill is. And so I think it's exciting. You know, big picture, I see a little brown thing there by Ridgewood. Is that the tunnel, Dana, or is that an overpass? That's the tunnel. So, I mean, you think of big picture, rehabbing that tunnel.
It kind
You know,
of leads to the next conversation and Mayor, you haven't weighed in. I don't want to
Yeah.
cut you off yet, but
I just have a couple comments. You know, a lot of what you said, Vice Mayor, is spot on. The one thing I would say, though, the problem is here because you said the problem's coming and they're bringing the solution, but the problem's already here because, as you said, the morale's down.
Oh, I see it.
People aren't
It's the
coming.
handwriting's on the wall. That either they're going to leave in the middle of the night, or the whole place it's just going to fall apart.
And the question is if the Martins weren't here, if we didn't have this Plan A, as you say, we would then have to take over the gym, and it would be a major cost. And one of the problems that is going to face this commission here in the coming years, in the next 5 years, is going to be all about this minimum wage. We're going to have to come up with a lot of money to address compression, to address a lot of wage hikes in the coming years. We're good this year, but in the coming years, it's going to get more and more difficult. And you all know that I'm the budget hawk trying to cut this and cut that. And the hardest thing is when it comes to employees. We have to have good employees to run the city and get the service that we need out of it. So to add in creating a whole new recreation program to run that is going to be really difficult. It's going to be difficult to find someone to run that program for us. But Mr. Forte, correct me if I'm wrong, I was told recently or in the past that this YMCA was the only profitable one in all of the area. Is that correct?
I'd have to actually look to Commissioner Penny for that information. I think this is one of the few that runs in the black, and that's primarily because they didn't lose many members during this COVID event because of the $10 per month 24/7 access, and they don't pay some of the national or state fees that the other agencies pay. So they don't have the amount of expenditures. So I believe that it's still running in the black. at least this facility?
It's very difficult to determine because each branch is its own profit center, but then they put all the money into
lump
the
it in.
district. It goes into the district and then it gets
It goes where it
commingled
needs
and
to go.
money
Yeah.
laundered. But what happens is, this is a unique model. They started it here to do $10 a month. And that was Mr. Forte's suggestion is, hey, reduce your payments. So $10 a month automatically withdrawn from your checking account. Through COVID, I think they've only lost 2 paying members through COVID. Now, if you go to Port Orange, they've lost 200.
Wow.
Because it's $39.95 a month. You notice $40 a month coming
Right.
out of your checking account. You don't notice $10 a month coming out of your checking account.
It's almost not worth the call to cancel.
Right. So, but this branch doesn't pay, as Mr. Forte alluded to, doesn't pay some of the national and some of the regional costs associated with the executive director's salary and so forth. So it makes a profit on paper, but it would be a negative if we didn't give them the $45,000 a year
Yeah.
stipend.
That's what I was going to ask next.
If it's making a profit, then why are they cutting salaries 10 to 20%?
Well, because it's
Because
across
only-
the board.
Because
Yeah.
we're small. There's only 200 members here and you have 4,000 members throughout the county. So
So
we're,
it's a national cut, not just local?
no, it's local, which is Volusia Flagler, but we're a very small piece of the organization.
It's not just this facility that got cut, it's
It's
all of
all-
facilities.
All of them that are run. And so that brings me to my next point of the $45,000 that we do contribute to them. That doesn't include the electric and water.
In addition to,
And so we also provide electric and water.
we provide electric, water,
Some maintenance.
we provide maintenance, and the issue with the maintenance is they're responsible for repairs under a certain dollar amount. So what we've been noticing is that often those repairs are not made until they exceed the dollar amount. So which is not an unusual methodology for some landlord-tenant relationships, is they let it get bad enough that it becomes the landlord's
Do
responsibility.
we have any idea how much electric and water runs us a year there?
I would
Sorry
have
to
been able
throw
to
that at
rattle
you.
that off a month ago when we was doing budget, but not tonight.
Yeah. Okay. I do want those numbers eventually when we move forward. So and I know we're not at this level yet to start negotiating anything, but is the idea that we are going to continue that $45,000 to contribute that and then as well as provide water and
If we change
electric?
the relationship to the
Yeah,
Martins?
yeah, if we decide to
No, I think, in one of the proposals that Ryan and I have talked about, the 45,000 actually goes away in exchange for other things like heating the pool. And so in the grand scheme of things, I don't know if it's going to cost us more or less at the end of the day, but the relationship will be crafted a little bit different. So we'll have to, we'll get into more of those details down the road if that's the direction that we're going to go in. But like most recreation programs that cities run, they're not profit centers.
Yeah.
Most recreation programs are costly. They cost more than the revenues that they bring in. So I would suspect that there'll be some kind of supplementing the operation. We'll probably still cover the overhead cost of some maintenance. We'll see what the details are as we start to dive into it a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, when Reiner talked about 70,000 in the black, how does that work with,
Over there.
yeah, but I'm just saying, what does that mean, 70? I
Above
know
their
what it-
expenses.
I know what it means.
They're a
but-
nonprofit, but
Right, so where's the 70,000 go?
into the rest of the project to continue to
it'll-
run it. They have salaries.
I mean, we don't know what the rest of the year will bring. That's where we're sitting right now. So
Upgrades.
It's a positive cash flow. But some of that represents the big spike that we had when we initially opened membership up in July and August. So those people are paying the $300 a year for membership. Now, that's slowed down tremendously over the last couple of months. But we also, I think our agreement with the city is that if there is substantial amounts of money extra, that it would go to the city. But we would like to build a reserve fund first, that when there's a need for repairs, it's a brand-new building right now, so we don't need anything for repairs. But we'd want to have a good reserve fund, and then if there's excess beyond that, It's your facility.
Well, my point was being, that's a pretty good in the black situation at this point. If the Martins have a track record of doing so well across the street, that seems to me they've proved themselves.
Keep in mind, that's in 6 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Not a whole year. That's 6 months, right, Reiner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, 4.
4?
So some other questions I have, and I think it's mostly for Joe Reiner,
Okay.
if you want to sit down. I do want to talk about timeline, but right now the basketball gymnasium, can you walk in and just play a pickup game, or do you have to be a Y member? Do you have to be a Y member?
Y member.
Okay.
They introduced 24-hour-a-day access to the facility. It's $24 for the year to have 24-hour access to the facility. And the number one use is nighttime basketball by many of the college kids from Bethune-Cookman.
Oh.
Unfortunately, 2 of the kids that were on the Bethune-Cookman college team contracted COVID. And so there has been no basketball activity there. There is a volleyball league. Some people on Tuesday nights, they rent the facility and it's a volleyball league there. There's probably 50 people there playing volleyball, but they are either Y members. You have to be a Y member first, and then you can pay an extra $24 to have round-the-clock access to the facility.
Wow.
And that was part of what I tried to mention earlier. For example, a couple of years ago, UBIC was looking for a home basketball court, and they wanted to use the YMCA, and they couldn't.
Really?
Because they're not a member of the Y,
They wanted to charge them some astronomical amount. to
and then they
rent it.
wanted to charge a fee.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we couldn't accommodate that. So now, in the meantime, now UBIC is building their own facilities, but this can still have a future for other basketball teams or indoor volleyball teams. There's a couple of different, more expandable programs that can be run out of that facility.
Right. So, one thing, now that we're talking and starting to shape things, is, and I get the pickleball vision and I love it and I like that tie-in, and maybe you're more of an expert in this field, but I see it as 2 very different types of things, being that pickleball's pickleball, and you have the restaurant and senior center, but you focus in on pickleball, you do a great job. With this other, it's more like, community fitness, all kinds of things. You have fitness, you have basketball, volleyball. It would be great if we could work out to where if we did have a local team, you'd be able to work something out with them, a Holly Hill group, to get them in there, to have a home field there. So I'm trying to work that out in my mind. I almost feel like maybe there needs to be a little bit of a separation, but all under the same roof. I don't know what you're thinking about that, if you're going to have a different director or just all under one roof.
It's a good question. First of all, Julie and I have a great deal of background experience in running all kinds of facilities. First of all, we're the largest publisher in the world of those kinds of materials. So we work with the individuals who are the experts in aquatics and fitness programming. We're the largest publisher of strength training materials. We work with the National Association in that area. So we have a lot of knowledge of what makes a fitness facility work. I think we can expand the aquatics program tremendously. I managed a swimming pool early in my life, and used to teach 2-year-olds with their mothers how to learn to swim. We feel really confident that we can bring in a lot of our friends who are experts around the country to come in and look at this situation, understand the dynamics of the community of the greater Daytona area, and figure out what kind of programming we want to bring here to make this a really exciting place. I don't want to oversell it, but I don't want to undersell it either. We can do so much more with this facility than what you're doing now. And we'll have to hire some more staff to do that, and we'll have to make some of these changes that we want to do, that we've talked about, but we can do that.
Will you, with the Martins both, will you both be more hands-on? Will you be running it or backing it from the back end? Do you plan on hiring someone to
Yes,
to
we
do it?
would,
Okay.
we would hire a director for the facility. We would hire some other staff. We would hire part-time instructors, and, yeah.
And you'd
we-
be there to oversee
Yeah, and we've just in the process of appointing a new board for Pictona, and we've really got some excellent people who have strong business backgrounds that have been involved in sport as well. And the person that will be the new president, Dan Boyles, comes with a tremendous amount of international business experience. So we think we got to build this, and our goal has always been to build this not just so it's dependent upon us managing it, but to build it to last and sustain itself on its own. And that's what we would try to do with this facility as well.
Would you tie in, let's talk about memberships. So I'm assuming that there would probably be a overarching one where if you wanted everything and access to the pool and pickleball and all that, there's probably going to be a special price for that. Will there be a certain price of a membership if I only want to go and do the things that the Y is doing now? Or have you gotten that far in your business plan?
Well, we've thought about it. I think what we need to do is really study the whole area and what other people are charging and what kind of access the community would like to have to the facility, and then we'd figure out a financial structure for it.
Okay. And the Vice Mayor brought up an important point. One thing that comes up over and over, and we all know how great pickleball is, and we're all 100% behind it, and a lot of the community is a lot of people, even though they weren't using the ball fields, are upset that the ball fields were removed, the certain ones that were. And it comes up time and time again, and it's all over social media, and it's more so based less on the facts of what it was and now what it is and what the opportunity was and what it was turning into, more so based on feelings and more so based, my son played there for 15 years ago and so I'm connected and now it's gone and I don't even know what pickleball is. And so if and when we do remove the tennis courts, if we went down this path, there is going to be some of that pushback of avid players that still want to play tennis and for whatever reason they choose here.
Because it's free and it's lit.
That's right. That's right.
That's fine.
That's a big part of it. And nonetheless, that'll still be there. So I don't know how much that ties in, but I just want to, in this process, I want to be fully transparent, bring everything out, bring all the emotions. We all have to deal with it. We see, we see the success of this, but we also hear from a lot of people that talk down about it in our community. But like I said, it comes from more of an emotional standpoint than a factual standpoint. And people are going to be upset with any change you make, no matter what.
Well,
That's a
I think one
fact.
of the questions before you as you consider this is, do you serve the many or serve the few?
Of course. No. We serve the city and we serve the greater good. That's not in question. But also, too, we have to look out for everybody as well, Mr. Reiner. So, and with that, one of my questions would be, and this is probably later on in the process, is would the 6 pickleball courts here be for members only of the whole pickleball? Is that the idea? Or if you were going to do a certain type of membership only for the Holly Hill Fitness, would people be able to use that? Kind of gets convoluted.
Yeah, our thinking right now is that the reason we'd want to build 6 courts in this location, first of all, there's the infrastructure for making it less expensive to put 6 courts there. And those courts would be particularly used with the educational programs that we see coming in. So people would come here, spend 3 days, and we would teach them how to play pickleball. There would be some classroom part, and then they'd be able to step right outside and play on those courts. So
And maybe
That would
practice
be-
courts
that would
for
be
when you
the
have a big
major
tournament.
part of it, but
Yeah.
we think we might have 1,000 members within a year, and that all of the 24 courts are occupied, and so these would be 6 additional courts that people could use, but we would see it as part of various membership packages, and we just haven't structured that all out yet.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Reiner. That's
Okay.
all the questions I have for you. One more question. Oh,
Reiner, remind me to introduce you to Tasso Kyriakis.
yeah.
Okay, he's a local Holly Hill resident. He's an exercise guru. He knows the exercise industry and the fitness industry in this county.
Okay?
Very, very successful. Yeah.
And he will help.
Yeah, great. Be glad to meet him.
Extremely successful in that field. So I'm assuming that we would basically have a deal similar to what pickleball is now and what the Y is now, meaning that we're still going to own the facility. We'll help out contributions-wise by providing, certain things, but we would retain ownership and they would come in and run it. Is that correct?
Yeah, very, very similar to what we already have. There's other things that need to be done. There's fix-up of the building, the area between the basketball courts and the racquetball courts needs to be covered. The racquetball courts themselves need to be improved. They'll put a roof on them. We're not sure if there'll be racquetball courts that will be potentially air-conditioned. We're not sure if that'll be part of the fitness program that will be air-conditioned. You can get right out of the north side of the basketball courts and walk right into that area. So there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of capital work to be done, and we've got to figure all of that out. In moving forward with the vision, and Val, if you could pull up one of those other pictures that are there. We've got this tunnel that goes under US 1, and I kind of envision it being painted this bright white with murals on there and not neon lights, but LED lights, and looking pretty awesome to get from one point to the other. Don't know if that's possible because you have ADA compliance issues that you need to address. Apparently, some time ago when I was in Seminole County, Holly Hill looked at putting a bridge across, a pedestrian bridge across US 1 to get access to what was going to be possibly a regional library or just the library that was over there. And I guess Dana's group had drawn 2 versions of a pedestrian bridge. So it's possible that if this becomes popular enough, this is what it could look like. And you want to talk about a CRA district revitalizing itself, this could be our revitalization. We've got money that's sitting in there. This may be what we use to revitalize Ridgewood Avenue in the city of Holly Hill that will then attract more businesses into this area, more housing into this area. I think there might be another picture. There's one no, that's the same one. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So a couple of different views of what was drawn up. So I don't know what happened at the time. This is before between 2008 and 2014, somewhere in there. And I don't quite know why it started or why it stopped, but
Money.
money. It's always money.
Yeah, it looks very expensive.
But
But-
wouldn't that be pretty cool? And maybe
Would
this
this-
would then generate a walking district and
Would this fall under something we could use CRA funds to build?
potentially. I'd have to find out. I'd have
Yeah.
to look at our plan and see if it's in the. I mean, certainly the plan doesn't mention anything about pickleball, but I have to
Yeah.
see if the concept would fit under the plan and if this is something that we could allocate our funds toward. And this could be a revitalization project.
Yeah, I love it. I thank you guys for brainstorming this up and bringing the opportunity to us. I really appreciate it. My only, and I'm happy to move forward with this and continue talks. My only hesitation is looking at pricing. I hesitate if someone's paying $10 a month, a resident, and now they have to pay $40 a month or whatever it is. I hesitate with that for getting the same services if they're not a pickleball member.
I,
The only thing.
He wanted to say
Could I
something.
just
Yeah,
say
go
to
ahead.
that I don't want to make any commitments yet because
Yeah.
we haven't dug into the details. We would like to try to make it as affordable to the citizens of Holly Hill as we can. So we would work on that.
Perfect.
Go ahead, John, with what you.
No, I was just going to mention that up until 6 months ago, the membership was $29.99. The $10 was a Hail Mary to try and get more bodies in the area. And I agree with you that I don't want the price to be unaffordable for our citizens. But based on past performance of Martin's Charities and the success across the street, I think there's going to be a multitude of 5 to 10 times the activity in that center over there. So if it's $19.99 a month, although we could say the price has doubled, well, really it's $10 less than it was 6 months ago, and you're getting 5 to 10 times the bang for your buck. So that's just don't want us to get caught up on $10 a month because it was just $10 a month for the last 6 months.
Yeah,
Mayor. And, excuse me, I would also be concerned about Holly Hill citizens being able to access the fitness and things like that. And I'm sure once you delve into this, you might be able to come up with some plan for Holly Hill citizens alone for the fitness aspect of it. Who knows? But I know how that's running over there. I know you have instructors that both teach for free and you can pay if you want extra level. So there's many things that serve the community over there outside of pickleball. Yes, pickleball is the main draw there. Community gardens are absolutely gorgeous now. I mean, and you've expanded them.
Except you haven't looked at ours.
But I look at them overall.
Get the water, Julie.
That's why I'm not in there.
No, but one thing, Commissioner Curry, and I would imagine that with the capital improvements over there, there would be an application for ECHO grants. And once you go to that ECHO grant, you can't delineate the difference, the price differential
Okay,
between.
okay, I get you.
It's Volusia County residents.
Okay.
So we ran into that across the street.
But with all of the various activities that are done over there outside of pickleball, they really serve our community. I see young people in there playing ping pong all the time. I see the senior center with activities, the outside games that are available to that, well, to anybody, but to that center specifically. So I look at this over here, and I know how your vision is. It's apparent that this is going to offer so much more than the Y, than our rec department could have offered back when we did have a rec department. I just see this, not only the fitness aspect, the aquatic aspect, but now you're talking about being a training ground for international play, people across the United States to learn how to play, to learn how to go teach people how to play. I mean, there's so much more that's going to be offered over here than has ever been offered. And I know that you'll keep the residents in mind when you go through the fee structure. I just think this is a home run for us, just like Pictona was.
Daniel, you wanted to say something?
Couple things. I know like you mentioned about the ECHO grant, so we got kind of handcuffed with the fee structure with the,
Yeah, I forgot about that.
and that kind of had some heartburn. I think we all had that. How much of the membership now can you tell, I mean, it's something that, would you know, is Holly Hill residents?
Or
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's
When I'm talking to most people over there, they're from out of Holly Hill.
So, it's like, I'm all for progress, but one of the concerns, like you're saying, is about getting, we're trying to grow the city, and will this hopefully get the citizens back involved, like they're maybe not involved with pickleball? I mean, you see people there all the time, but how many actually come from Holly Hill
Right, but the citizens might not be participating over there, but people that are driving from St. Augustine and Altamont and the mayor of New Smyrna Beach to come visit our city, if you ask Russ when the last time he was in Holly Hill, he probably couldn't remember. But he came here
Last night.
specifically for Pictona,
Well-
which gives him the opportunity to drive past our businesses and frequent the business. That's how I look at it from a different perspective.
Trust me, I'm never narrow-minded
Yeah.
to not see the big picture, okay? I just was like, I want to make sure we're balanced because we do have something that's for the citizens with maybe the price structure for the citizens, and we got to keep them, like you say, at the forefront of our minds because we're working for the citizens.
But I don't know how many members of the Holly Hill Y are Holly Hill residents. That would be an interesting number to get.
It would be.
You know, it
I bet it's less than you think.
It is an interesting number and an interesting question, but we have that with everything. You could rent Sika Hall very inexpensively in the city of Holly Hill. For a very similar building to rent in the city of Palm Coast is at least 5 times the cost. We do things on the cheap. We do things on the cheap, so we get things on the cheap. And we have to stop doing that. We have to stop worrying about catering to people that can't afford to do it because they're not going to do it anyway. We have very few residents that participate in the YMCA. A lot of those people come from outside the area. We have very few people that rent Sika Hall from within the city. Most of our regular weekly or monthly rentals at Sika Hall are from outside the area. So it's one thing to cater to your residents, but it's another thing to attract people in. Tourism is what pays for things. If it weren't for tourism, Daytona Beach would be a dead city.
We're not Daytona Beach.
We're not Daytona Beach.
Right.
So we have to do things to bring people in because as they come in, now they're looking at housing. We've had people that said, oh, they want to move to this area because of pickleball. So you have people interested in housing. You've got people interested in this area. I've got more people from outside this area finally talking good about Holly Hill, and that stigma is starting to change. And as that stigma changes,
Well, that was the whole concept of taking the junk off the street and
Right.
cleaning up. I mean,
Right.
we're
It's-
moving in that direction, no
little
doubt.
steps of getting better each and every time.
Well, Mr. Forte, and I understand what you're saying, and I understand that you're not saying it in a derogatory way, but I do take exception with the notion that we, in any way, should not first and foremost look out for our tax-paying citizens.
didn't
They're
say
the
that.
people that put us in this chair, and I know you don't mean it that way,
No,
but I want to be
that way.
clear, because people can listen back to this, that we are not serving people outside of our city. We are only serving the people inside of our city. But
That's
to
not-
bring
that's not
people,
true.
but to bring people to our city can help our businesses.
Exactly.
It can help, and I know that that's what you meant.
Right.
But I never want to lose sight of who we do serve, and our demographic is blue collar workers. A lot of them have multiple jobs, and they can't afford however much the membership is, $400, $500. I'll be honest with you. I'm the mayor of the city, not a rich man, unfortunately. And I haven't been able to purchase a membership yet. It's a lot to do with time, but also it's a big investment for me. And a lot of our citizens feel that way. I'm not saying anything derogatory about that. It's a reality. And so I know that, and I'd like to know the numbers, John, about how many Holly Hill citizens we are serving there at a low cost for fitness and whatnot. And I just want to make sure we don't lose that. I just want to make sure that we're not taking something away from them, or they feel like we're taking something away from them. And that's the only thing. And I don't want you to take any offense to that. You guys got to come in and you got to make sure that there's profit there, so that way it's worth doing. You're not taking in a sinking ship. I fully understand that. And I trust me, I'm not throwing any shade at you at all. You guys have done an amazing job over there. And I know you're very capable of it, so don't ever take it that way. But, these are questions, and these are some of the reasons why we are elected up here. And I think first and foremost to look out for the citizens, which is what Mr. Danio has said. He's been waiting for a
No,
while.
go ahead.
The way I kind of look at it, they're working things more on an international basis, all around the world, not just local. it's all gonna come together all over the world. It's not like Mayor Green used to always tell me, you gotta quit boxing yourself in. You know, I mean, he remembers back when we first started boxing ourselves in, and we shouldn't have done that. But you gotta remember too, they did this in 2020, and they made a profit in recreation in 2020. That's kinda unheard of. Because people are staying isolated, they're not doing recreation. Even a lot of the little ball teams that my little grandsons own have disbanded strictly because of it. COVID is so widespread. But you're making a profit in recreation in 2020. Just think when they get the vaccine out and this thing is behind us, and you've already got the infrastructure, the groundwork for it, how it's gonna take off, you have to look at what's gonna go ahead and what's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and we're gonna get this behind us. Recreation is gonna take off. There's more people moving in the area. There's more younger people that wanna play things. I can only do so much. I mean, my little grandson goes over and brings one of his friends from way North Palm Coast to play pickleball with him. He goes over and plays it one time he has a little bit of time to do it, and they loved it, you know. So and they spread the word to the other team members and things they play with and all, and they wanna try it. Now his dad and mom wanna try it too and all. So it's gonna take off, and we have to look at it like we have to be the groundwork, the infrastructure, the start of it. Whether it's international or whatever, if it starts here, I think it's gonna be a great thing. And we have to look at it for the point of view, we have to invest to make it really happen, and I think we could do it right now. You know, I really do. I think you're gonna do it. Making a profit in 2020 in recreation.
That's a good point, 2020. Vice Mayor?
Just one thing, I'm hearing major consensus to move forward with this thing,
Yeah.
so, but the one thing that you said, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Johnson just said was profitable. And I don't want anyone to go away thinking this is profitable, that anyone is gaining profit. The goal is to make it self-sustainable, and so that it continues. And maybe the goal would be, you know, if it's as successful as we think, you know, the utilities are paid by the city. So maybe 5 years from now, it's so self-sustainable that it is profitable, and it's a profit center for the city, not for the Martins, not for Pictona, not for anyone. So, you know, and just the promise, Reiner said it, he likes to under-promise and over-deliver, I think is a good way to summarize his business plans and negotiations with the city in the past. And if Pictona is any measure of the success that I believe that he and his team will put together over here, it's a no-brainer. So I think we should just tell Joe to
Same
get
way.
with
Yeah.
the Martins and move forward, and let's talk about
And-
And thank
something
you for the
else.
clarification. I didn't mean profit. We all know it's a
I
nonprofit. You're
know
not
what,
taking-
I know what you guys meant, but I
just
just
mean
I don't want anyone
run
to
in the
look
red.
back and
We don't want to be running in the red. We want to make sure we're in the black. So
No, and I know what you guys meant. I just don't want someone to go back and listen to the
Yeah.
recording of who's making all the
good
money.
clarification.
There's no money being made here by
We didn't
anybody.
even have a Volusia County Fair this year.
yeah,
Mayor.
yes.
Just real quick.
Yep.
I just want to say I am in full support of this, and I don't believe any of us up here would ever want to take away from our citizens. I just believe our citizens need to learn a new, I guess, a new outlet for their sports activities or maybe their fitness activities, what have you, because there are no baseball games over there anymore. There haven't been baseball games over there for 15 years, and every time somebody tries to tell me, well, they put that stupid pickleball in there, now we can't use the park. Okay, well, sorry, but most people were not using the park for at least 15 years. And you don't understand what Pictona is. Let me explain it to you. So maybe in our water bills that we send out online or something, we can include a little message about what pickleball is, what they need to come out. Free tours for I tell everybody, go get a free tour. It's free. Go tour the facility so you see everything that's offered, not just pickleball. Everything. And I know you guys well enough now to know you put this plan in place and did not want to overpromise what you could deliver Well, you over-delivered, absolutely. Yeah, it's a fantastic facility over there, and if it's going to be anything close over here at the Y, I think it will absolutely be a home run for us, the city, the citizens, the businesses, everybody as a whole. And that's what we're here for. We're here for everybody as a whole. There might be a few naysayers out there, but I've learned over my now entering into my 5th term, you listen to them, you try to explain to them, but there's going to be naysayers. And I cannot make my decisions for a small group of naysayers when it's the entire city that is encompassed. So that's all I have to say about that.
I think you were digging in too far to where I was going with it, but that's okay.
No, I was just trying to.
We're going to move on because
where
we do
I
have
am.
consensus to move forward. You'd like to add something else?
Yeah, I just, one thing. Time is of the essence on this. We're in discussion with the International Federation of Pickleball. They have another opportunity to take this elsewhere. At least that's what they're saying. I think they might be using that as a
Negotiating.
bit of leverage. But I'd really like to be able to move on this, and I think the next few weeks are going to be critical times for discussion with them. So I hear very positive responses from all of you, and I appreciate that. I understand that you have to work through a formal process, but I would really like you to give us the green light to go forward with Mr. Forte and begin to work towards seeing if we can make the acquisition of the YMCA as part of Pictona, so that I can go to the International Federation and say, yes, we're going to have the facility that has a place for your Hall of Fame, and therefore bring us the Hall of Fame tournament, which would be another annual event that would be, I think, very positive for the city. So I just ask you if you can give us that kind of green light.
Perfect. Thank you. And that was going to be my question is, what's the next step here? I know we got to talk to the Y
That's the next step.
immediately. And their 180-day process to terminate our contract with them, correct?
Well, there's a lot of details to get to make sure that we can still go in this direction. Like you said, membership costs are on the top of that list. Transfer of equipment, purchase of the equipment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of detail that's got to get ironed out.
Yeah. Well, then I think the consensus right now would be that we would authorize you to begin talks with them and to figure out exactly what cost we're going to maybe incur from breaking our contract with them, or I don't want to say breaking, but I believe without objection. Is there something
I
further?
just have one question for Reiner.
Yeah.
So we're giving, from what I understand, we're about to give Mr. Forte the green light. And so we'll move full steam ahead. We'll notify the Y. Now we've laid our cards on the table to the Y, and they start their exit strategy. If for some unseen reason that the International Hall of Fame and the International Association falls through, would you still want to move forward with the fitness portion of the program?
Good question.
I don't want to start the snowball and then poof, now we got to go to Plan B emergency
Yeah.
in overdrive.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, we would
Okay.
still want to go forward with that. And actually, for the education part, the IFP is an emerging organization, just as pickleball is emerging. If for some reason they did not want to work with us to make this the International Center, we'd still want to go forward with developing international programs on our own.
Okay.
We can do a lot of this ourselves. We know how to do this. So, okay.
Thank you.
Great question, yeah. All right, well, so I would expect to have some more information for the next meeting in December. I think maybe too, we should think about putting that on the regular agenda as well.
Probably going to need to be on
Yeah.
the regular agenda because, things are going to have to move rather quickly. So with only one meeting in December, I'm hoping to get an audience with Chris Silcott to start to have this conversation and do a peaceful transition.
You know who's the chairman of the board now, right?
No,
Charlie
Charlie
Lydecker.
Lydecker.
Of Volusia County?
So, we can work through some of those details and hopefully get a better picture by December. I can't just arbitrarily issue a 180-day termination clause.
Right.
I've got to do that through a commission meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
There is a lot of work to be done.
Okay.
All right.
Is there any other further direction that you need from us right now?
No, unless you've got some holdback direction.
I don't. Does anybody
No,
think
we
now would
just
be
need
the
to make
time?
sure that the staff is in turmoil over there, the members are in turmoil over there. This will be on the street tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we just need to make sure that there's no interruption in service, so that the 180 days, 181 or 190, we have to have,
Well, first of all, there's nothing saying that we may not need that staff that's in existence to keep the
no,
operation moving forward.
that's what I understand, but
Couldn't,
I just don't want to terminate it and let it sit empty for 6 months as we're doing all these things. I think we might have to live through some of the renovation dust as things are progressing, right?
right, real quick, wouldn't there be opportunity for the current staff to be employed under the future the future organization? I mean, is it something that,
There may be some dead wood over there.
well, that's up to the Martins, but,
I don't know the staff at all. I don't know why they haven't done more programming. So we'd want to evaluate them. And then I think we've done a very good job of hiring people at Pictona that are dedicated and committed to the functions over there. So we would look at the staff, certainly give them an opportunity to be considered.
There's really only one full-time staff person over there,
Wow.
Wow.
and that's like a $11 an hour position. That's the only full-time person that's over there.
who's that?
Wow.
Tara, she runs the desk at night.
All right. Well, in respect to time, but I do want to be clear, though. If there is anybody thinking about anything, that now's the time to say it, and we will have more opportunities to speak on this as we go. But now would be a good time. All right. Seeing none, thank you.
One thing's gonna come up. I saw Mr. Legary's son was in the back of this.
Yep.
And his pet project is that lending library, and maybe that's why he was here to see if
Oh,
we were gonna relocate that or we need to find a home for that if it's
Yeah.
not welcome there anymore.
we definitely want to keep that.
That's gonna
yeah.
be a concern.
Yeah. And it's just it's like a mailbox.
The bookshelf.
Yep. Okay. Anything further? All right. Thank you to the Martins. Appreciate it. And we're going to continue on with the meeting. Joe, do you want to go to the reserve account right now?
No, I mean, that's the reserve account. We can jump into that real quick. Stella is working on carry forward of some of the projects that were pulled back at the end of last year. If you recall, COVID came in, we weren't quite sure where our revenues were going to be, so we asked the department heads to cut their budgets on anything that hadn't been spent, and they did that. So we have a lot of projects that still need, that the money is available, so we can carry that money forward to fund projects this year. So as we started to talk about it today, we found a couple of items that we wanted to do carry forward of projects for, but they had also already been budgeted in this budget year. So we didn't want to double up on it. So we're going to go back and regroup on some of these carry forward projects. But there's also monies that became available when we received the CARES Act money to reimburse us for the fire salaries. We have some additional monies in our revenues as a result of that. And I want to be able to, at least right now at the 10,000-foot level, is purchase a couple of vehicles that we've been shorting ourselves over the last several years and maybe catch up onto that. want to look at, Antoine got some comparison pricing for the Veterans Memorial out front, and it's going to come back significantly higher than what we had projected for $50,000. So there are some things that we're going to need some money for, so I wanted to throw it out there to see if there are any projects, capital projects that you are interested in as we're starting to amend this, that we should include in this reallocation of the reserve funds. Mayor, you and I spoke a little bit about the update to the pavilions over in Sunrise Park. And I don't know what the costs on that are, but we can certainly start to put funds in there to maybe address some, if not all, of those facilities. So I wanted to take this opportunity to see if there are any ideas that you need us to take a look at to try to incorporate as one-time capital expenditures.
Yeah, one of my ideas, we had talked about it as a commission previously, was the upgrading of the pavilions and the picnic tables at Sunrise Park. I think it's one of our most gorgeous parks, but the infrastructure out there, the pavilions in particular, and the building are lacking. They're very old, and I think upgrading those would be so great. And there's a lot of people that use that park, so I think it'd be a good use of money, but it never really moved forward because we really didn't have much money to allocate to these types of projects. So now the fact that we do, that was one of the ideas I had. So if anybody else has any ideas, or if you want to think more on it, get with Joe.
Well, also, we had talked irrigation there,
Yeah, that's what I
lawn,
was
the
thinking.
lawn there,
It
and
looks
the
terrible.
700-pound grill in the middle of the room, or the docks.
Yeah.
400,000 isn't going to do chump change to the docks there.
Yeah.
I know we're working on that, but that's, if there was some way to do a jump start on any of that with
Yeah.
$100,000 of it to move us forward on some of this stuff and wait for some FEMA reimbursements. But that's, we could fix up the pavilions, but when you walk around the circle.
Well, we're kind of.
I know we're
think of
handcuffed.
that's a better word than what I was
We're handcuffed.
thinking with the piers, because of the cost, because we just don't have it, and we have to get that funding. And as Joe will tell you, it's been like pulling teeth
It's been 3 years.
with them, and just when we think it gets going, it doesn't go anywhere. So, but I have faith that it's still gonna come through, and we do have to fix up some of those places, because the pavilions are being used right now, heavily. And I go down there quite often with my kids, and there's a lot of families down there. There's people having picnics. There's people having birthday parties. And I think it would go a long way to spruce up
I
that
agree
park
with you. You could actually
immediately.
spend $40,000-$50,000
Right.
and make a major
Make
improvement.
a huge, yeah.
Where that might get you 3 pilings.
Right. That's right.
Well, like you're saying, that plus the irrigation, I think I talked to you about that once before.
Yeah, well, just remember, if we go
The
down the
lawn there looks awful.
Then we got to cut it. Then we got to fertilize it.
Well, that's the thing. If you go down the
So we
road of
just let it die.
irrigation, that leads to, you really don't want cars parking on there, so we don't want to have some of the events we talked about, the art show, car show, because then you end up damaging those heads. You've got, once the grass starts to turn green and grow pretty, now you've got more landscaping and maintenance issues. And it's great. I think it should look as pristine as possible, but just know there's going to be more costs on
Right.
top of that.
But you said it earlier, Joe. We do things on the cheap because we've always done things on the cheap.
That's right.
And so,
I mean, we have the fitness court there that, I just think it should look nicer than what it does.
Yeah. Any other input or any other ideas for now? All right. In the spirit of time, we can move now to item 3, the Christmas tree lighting discussion. So, Joe, I didn't know if you had anything to add to this, but, my idea that I threw out before, or all of our idea, was to, if we're not going to do in-person function, we could do a live video. We could all be there, the commissioners. Joe, you could be there. I don't know, we could get some kind of, not an MC, but somebody to welcome people. We would promote it as, at 7 o'clock or whatever time it is. Tune in. We're going to light the whole lawn and the Christmas tree. But we would need somebody to film it. So I don't know if we would need to. I don't know. Do we have money set aside in the budget at all for? I guess we do for the parade, correct? Which, if we're not going to use, maybe we could look at using those funds to, for instance, the guys that did the video for the ribbon cutting for that big dumpster thing. If we could have a real deal crew come in.
Budget that we would use to pay the bands, for example. So if you'd like, I could contact that group and see what they would charge to come down here and video and promote the lighting. Just keep in mind, it's going to start out very dark. And then we'll light it up.
Well, and if they were a crew, though, they could bring their own lights, is what I'm,
I don't know what
then they
they have
would
in it,
shut
but-
those off, and then we'd flip
out.
on the Christmas lights.
Here's my concern for that. I think it's a great idea. I just worry about the devil in the details. Like, I wouldn't watch it. I don't know who's going to watch it, because the only people that come to our tree lighting ceremony are the parents and grandparents of the kids that are out there dancing and singing. So to have the expense of paying a crew $500, $1,500, I don't know what it costs to do that. I personally wouldn't be opposed if you came down here the Friday of the Christmas parade, and you stood on City Hall, because you're really great on Facebook Live, and have someone hold your camera, do Facebook Live, have your daughters come down and flip that switch. Holly Hill is officially open for Christmas. That's it. Because I think, I don't think anyone's going to watch it because there's no programming for us to do. It's just, we're just got to get over it, and so I wouldn't be
Yeah, I
opposed
think
to.
if you did something like
You're
that.
really good speaking on,
you're-
impromptu speaking. You inherited that from your dad, I guess.
Yeah.
But just do a
Don't talk as
Facebook.
much.
I don't even think the commission needs to be here. Hi, this is Mayor Chris Villa,
You take your kids,
downtown
let 'em
Holly
flip the
Hill.
switch and
Boom, the lights go on.
put it on Facebook.
Without the parade, we're kind of, it's not.
I mean, there's nothing.
Well, it's a
to-
good point that most of the people that are there are just.
The only people that are gonna watch it. I mean,
But if you did something like that, you're like opening Holly Hill for Christmas, and
that was the idea, is to show people that we're not closed down for Christmas, but we're
So-
still
well,
celebrating.
you see, Robin Hanger's already got a head start on
oh
it.
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
What do you do? I haven't been up
you
there.
haven't seen his decorations?
He paid some guy to put all his lights.
Is that what happened? I'm like, man, he can really decorate.
That'd be nice.
So, I mean, that would be my suggestion: is keep it simple.
I think that sounds like a really good idea.
It's 2 weeks from this Friday, so we,
So what I'm hearing is just no budget, don't use any money for, doing a full thing. And
I mean, they could do a
understand
great
it's
production,
kinda-
but what are they going to film? The 30 seconds of your daughters flipping the
Yeah,
switch?
because we'd have to come up with
Who are they
something.
gonna film it to?
Yeah, who's going to watch it?
Yeah, it's a good point.
what does Facebook Live go out to?
Whoever the
All of his-
is.
Yeah, whoever the audience is, but then you post it on. He could
You
post
post it, and then I post it, and then you
Yeah.
post
and then you
it.
could
Share
post
it.
have it posted on the city's Facebook.
after
It goes
the
to
fact, or-
everybody's.
Well, it's live, but most of
It's
your
live.
exposure is, unless you have 1 million followers.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of your
That's
exposure is after,
after.
because I see that the
Right.
mayor did it, and I repost it, and then
Yeah.
Val sees it,
You don't
and
think
she
anybody's
shares
gonna
it.
Tune in at 6 o'clock
Nope.
to see the.
No,
I mean, maybe you have the Chamber of Commerce send out something to the chamber members, but they're not going to
I
tune
think
in
it's going to
anyways.
be like
Yeah.
most lives where people are able to watch it later.
I mean, Joe and I talked about it earlier. I mean, most of the people that show up are connected to the people that participate. and they're not gonna be there.
Copper Bottom does a live thing, I think, every Thursday.
Every Friday.
Yeah, they do.
I never see it live, but someone
Yeah, I always see it. After.
posts it on there, and I
Yeah.
see Jenny and Jeremy on there all the time, so I know it works.
Yeah. It does. It has a better algorithm than just videos. Videos don't get.
Yeah.
The algorithm doesn't work.
Well,
as
and if there's not that many people watching at the time, we all know that once it gets shared, people are going to watch it.
Right.
Maybe you could do a funny dance or something, and we could go global.
Hey, maybe you can wear like a elf outfit or
A
something.
Yeah,
pickleball
right, yeah.
outfit and a sweatband.
Let me call Ed Kelly, see if Floor Georgia Line's in town. Then we'll have 1 million
Hey,
viewers.
now, I might join you at
Then
that
you
tree
want to
lighting
join. Yeah.
ceremony.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do?
So I think.
You don't have to do nothing.
I say we
Yeah, I
like,
think
you
you
don't
don't
have
have
to
to
do
do anything.
Right.
Well,
He's
someone-
just
Chris is gonna take care of
Well,
himself.
you are going to have to do something. You're going to have to. have staff there to
show
to
Chris
flip
how
it
to turn
on.
the lights on.
Yeah. We'll have to get the big fake, switch out there.
Hey, that switch isn't
Oh,
fake.
I meant the real one, with the real Santa too. Just
That
blew it.
switch isn't fake. It
Just
works.
blew it. It's crazy too. It's Christmas, magic. It's not connected to anything.
That's
but
right.
It knows. Yep. All right.
Make sure you.
So we'll get together on that, Joe, of what I need. I think it would just
Hey, you might be able to give Santa.
one employee there to turn it on.
I need a couple
Switch.
because there are different
Chris?
switches.
Okay.
You might be able to get our special Holly Hill Santa to come join you.
Actually, yes, we
I
should.
think Holly Hill Santa. I
Okay.
don't know who
perfect.
you're
Ask
talking
him
about.
if-
I'm talking about the Holly Hill Santa.
Well, he knows him real well. He can get on in.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so if you want that, maybe he can come and be here with you.
that would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, good idea. All right. Now, moving forward to item number 4, establishing new start time for city commission meetings beginning in January 2021. So, obviously, this was pulled from the last meeting to start at 6 o'clock. So, I'll just start. For me, a lot of the hesitation is, number one, the tradition and the longstanding 7 o'clock. People know. And I do understand, from the staff's perspective of starting sooner and your perspective of wanting to get here sooner. I will say personally, for me, it's going to be a lot harder for me to start a meeting at 6. When we have a workshop at 6, like for instance today, I had to have a babysitter, make sure that I have that. My wife doesn't get off work until 6 or 6:30, and so a lot of times I'm rushing to get here at 7. Now, with that being said, I don't want that to be construed that I won't be here. I'll make it work. This is my first priority. Well, family's my first priority.
Yeah, I was going to say you better back up.
But so it's not like
We
I
get it,
can't
though.
do it, but it makes it harder on me. And I know that if it's harder on me, that it could be harder on other people if maybe they live here and there is something that comes up and they work in Orlando and they have to come home, shower, try to get here, or they just get off later. So, and that's the primary reasons why I'd be against it. But I'll open this up, and we can't take action tonight, so we'll bring this back in December, which is no bearing on whether it's tonight or last meeting, because it'll take effect in January anyways. But the one thing that we need to consider, and I talked to Joe about this, is our attorney, Scott Simpson. If he stays with South Daytona, as we all know, they're talking about possibly finding a new attorney. A lot of times he's getting here 5 minutes, 10 minutes after 7, which still works for us because we're not in the meat of the thing. There's been very few occasions in my time, my 4 years being up here, where he hasn't been able to be here. I think one time we had to move an item further on to the back of the agenda to wait for him to get here. But if we do start it at 6, we will have that conflict with South Daytona. And so I talked to the city manager maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Actually, it was last Monday, and of South Daytona, and asked him, do you think he's going to stay or go? And he wouldn't give me a one way or another, and rightfully so. I said, when is that decision going to be made? He said, very soon, by the same meeting night that we have, 8th, December 8th, that they'll probably know and make a decision. So this may be a thing that comes up. I know for a fact, first off, I'm just gonna say that unless something big changes in my mind, I'm gonna be against moving it from 7 to 6. And I'm especially going to be against it if Scott Simpson stays on as their attorney, because I definitely don't want him to miss a whole meeting, because a lot of times our meetings are done in about an hour. So if he can't get here till 7, then that could be a problem. So those are all I got, and I'll open it up for discussion for anybody who wants to talk.
Well, I will. And those are very valid reasons, because every other week I'm going to have to tell my daughter, you need to get the kids earlier, because I watch my grandkids every other week on Tuesday. But I have thought about this since our last meeting, and I've been going through my head as the reasons why, and why would it be good, and why would it be bad, and one thing I thought about this time that I've never thought about before when you brought it up was we have kids that might come with their parents or grandparents for whatever reason. We have kids that come when we recognize staff for various things. We have kids come to recognize them. We give certificates and stuff to groups. Unfortunately, this year we didn't have government day, but normally we have those kids in, and I just feel like if we change it, it's going to allow parents to, number one, maybe get their kids a little more involved, hopefully, because they can be here earlier. They don't have to worry about being stuck here past the kids' bedtime, with it starting at 7. A lot of elementary school kids, or even into middle school, go to bed by 8:30. So I just see it as, like the other night with my grandkids. They were here well past their bedtime, and they were showing it. So that kind of came to my thought process this week, is what about those young kids, and we could do things a little different for them too, to where hopefully the parents would get them involved. Who knows? But that was just my thought.
All right.
Well, it's no secret I'm in favor of it. I brought it up. I just think it's more productive, and something Reiner said, it's more productive for the many than the inconvenience of the few. I'm sorry. But I just, and your point about Mr. Simpson is a valid point, but I think most of the times we ask for his opinion are in the public hearings, and that's usually at the end of the meeting. And the thing of it is that if we do this in January and 6 or 9 months go by and we find out it's not working, it's fluid. We could change it back.
Yeah, we'll switch it back.
So I just think that it's a huge waste of time for everybody, citizens, staff people, and us. And so that's why I think 6 is a better time. So,
Thank you.
I'm not sure about waste of time for citizens, because I don't know what their schedule is. And it seems like it would be a waste of time for people like Val and Joe kind of hanging around, Antoine, Stella, Chief. If they got to hang around for it without going anywhere, it depends on the situation. But to that, in respect to them, I think it would be better to meet a little earlier. Not to discount your situation, it's a couple days a month, it's not like it's a couple days a week where it get really kind of hassled. But I have no problem either or, but it seems like there's more pros than there are cons. Now, the deal with Scott Simpson would be, we would have legal representation through his firm without having Scott here. How's that work?
I don't know. In the past, many years ago, Scott used to send Abe McKinnon, Noah's son, would come sit in on a meeting or two if we had something that I knew needed some legal interpretation. A lot of times they don't need a legal interpretation. You got to remember, Scott plays the role as the attorney, but Scott also throws in personal opinion often. So if you're just looking for a legal opinion, and it's only one meeting a month. South Daytona only meets once a month, so it would only be one meeting a month that Scott would be late to,
Which is
or
half of our meetings, Joe.
potentially not show up. Right. Yeah, so.
I just don't want you to discount it, like only one.
No.
I mean, we only have 2 meetings.
No,
a
South
month.
Daytona
six.
only has one meeting
Right.
a month, so he'll be here. Half the time he'll be here on time. The other half the time he will be late if
Correct.
he is still employed with South Daytona.
Correct.
And when he does show up late, what's to say he's going to show up in time if they're having once a month meetings? It seems like,
They've been
some days
having
we're-
once a month
you
for
know
a
what I'm
while.
saying, their meetings must be pretty compact and boom.
Their meetings, for whatever reason, are over within an hour.
I was gonna say, because we've been here till 9:30 at night sometimes. That's another good thing about being a little early. Sometimes it seems to get kind of late. I get up at 5, so for me, pushing 9 o'clock, it's like, the only time I see it is every other Tuesday if we're here. Otherwise, I'm fighting to keep my eyes open past 9 o'clock at night, so.
I would bet odds are Mr. Simpson will not be the city attorney for South Daytona become the first of the year.
I don't know.
It's a political decision, not a
If-
staff decision.
If he is, and you find that we need legal representation, you can always request somebody be in attendance from his firm.
Yeah, I mean, Abe would come down. The problem that I would see is that Abe doesn't deal with local government issues. So he would be giving you strictly a by-the-book legal opinion on some subject matter without the great detail that Scott would have. So that's the challenge. And like I said, Abe has sat in here before, and we've had a couple of meetings that Scott wasn't here. I think the big issue is if we know that we've got a matter, for example, the Marina Grande issue, I would certainly not want to have that on a meeting that I know Scott wasn't going to be here, whether we went to 6 o'clock meetings or not. If Scott says, hey, I'm down in the Keys doing my lobster weekend, I'd say, all right, I'm going to try to push that item off to another meeting. Not that I'm going to rearrange meetings, whether or not Scott's going to be here. But on occasion, we've had to move some things specifically because I know it's going to be controversial and I need an attorney here.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. We could have another attorney here, but and I don't know how you all feel about Scott. I really, really like Scott being our attorney, and the reason is because I know he goes to bat for us over and over and over. And I know you can pay people to go to bat for you, but the legacy that he has here and the history that he has here, there are certain times where questions come up where his history really helps us. History with the city, not just legal. And he does add in a lot of suggestions a lot to us that are extremely helpful. I think we could all agree to that. And so, that would be the number one reason I would caution you all to not move it to 6. And I also want to make it clear that I'm not making this about me. So don't say it's me or my inconvenience. It's an example of that if I'm inconvenienced with that, there's other people. And as much as I love our staff is this is their duty to be here.
Yeah, and again, I'll
It is.
reiterate, this is not a staff request. My staff has been told when they got hired, we meet every other Tuesday, and I don't call them here unless they have to be. So
Right.
this is not a staff request, this is not a manager's request.
All right. The other question is, with 6 o'clock, I know this year we haven't done too many, and maybe it's because of COVID, but there hasn't been too much going on. We have a lot of workshops usually right before, and usually they start at 6. If it's going to be a long one, we have in times past started at 5. So if we did move it to 6, we would have to start having workshops at 5, which is hard, I think, probably on all of us who work to get here at 5. So that's something to think about as well.
We could always have the workshop after.
We could have it after, or we're
on a-
doing it on an off week this week.
We could have it after, or, what I would almost throw out there, because I think I'm hearing 3 people in favor of moving it to 6.
I didn't say anything.
And I don't know where you are yet. What do you,
The only thing about it is, today is Tuesday, right?
yeah,
So we came at 4 today.
yeah.
I had to come from Sanford today, but now I have to go back to Sanford because I didn't finish.
Wow.
But
Tonight?
So you can do it,
You gotta go back tonight?
Well, no, I'll go back early in the morning.
Oh, okay.
I could, well, no, I can't go back tonight. I'll go back early in the morning.
It's dark, you can't.
You want him driving at dark?
No.
Oh, okay.
But the thing about it is, sometimes you have to change things, make a little bit of change to do it and all, but it's only a couple of times a month. But I mean, Scott Sims is probably one of the best attorneys. He's my own personal attorney as well. But you don't cut Abe McKinnon short on municipality or government law, because I've talked to him a lot of times and he knows a lot about it, believe me. And so Abe would be really good if Scott couldn't make it. And the only thing is, my little Dallas, he has baseball practice at 6 to 8, but he never gets out before 8:30. So, I mean, they stretch it out, and then they have to do all those other things. But I usually go take him drinks and visit him for a while before I come to the meeting, so I would miss that. But like his point of view is, I might get out early enough to come before he gets out of the practice.
So what are you saying, Commissioner Johnson?
Either
Are you in
way-
favor of, or are you,
Either way.
are you
I mean,
against
there's
it?
pros and cons either way, but to me, it really makes not much difference, but I don't see where it would be a problem with starting it at 6 o'clock. I mean, to me, you could start it at 5 o'clock. I wouldn't care. And then it's another thing is too, it is a point with the staff as well. I mean, they get off work, they go home and come back, or they could go right after work or whatever. And Joe would have to go all the way to Palm Coast.
He doesn't go.
Huh?
He goes to
just hangs around.
Sorrento's.
Yeah, but I mean, if he did go home, he'd have to go all the way to Palm Coast. But I'm for
I'm gonna
changing.
start
it to
playing
18
pickleball before the meeting.
18 I'd go for the 1,800 hours, but to me, it'd be fine.
So let me throw out a crazy idea, since I kind of sense where this vote may happen next Tuesday, and you can all chew on it. How about we have a workshop every week, every meeting at 6 o'clock? There's enough that we could workshop, that we could get done in an open setting and talk about. Then you get your start time at 6, but our real stuff doesn't start at 7.
I think that's just a placeholder. That's a waste of an hour.
Yeah.
Because we can't take any formal action. Some nights we might be out of here by 7 or 7:30 if we started at 6. But if we had it doesn't solve anyone's accessibility problems if we have a workshop at 6 instead of our meeting. That doesn't.
Well, it would, because the official meeting wouldn't be where action is being taken for the public. Because remember, we keep making this all about us and the staff, not about us and the staff.
What if we don't have-
And that's where I am staying on. I know everybody keeps talking about my schedule, and that's fine because I brought it up. But once again, I brought it up as an example. And so the example is that people, if you work later and if you work outside, it's easier to get to a 7 o'clock meeting. And it's not like we run meetings till midnight. Like, maybe when you first started, Commissioner, you might have had some. I remember meetings going to 11, 12 o'clock all the time. We run pretty tight meetings here. There's not many meetings that go well over an hour, other than this one, of course. So that's just my 2 cents. You guys could chew on it. I kind of see where the votes are, so.
I believe having the change to try to potentially help out any kind of groups, citizens that have children, what have you, I think that's a pretty valid point. I mean, we all either have grown children where we went through the younger child days, or we currently have young children, or grandchildren, whatever the case is. And there would have been no way that I would even think about bringing my kids up here at 7 o'clock at night for a meeting, because it would be past their bedtime. So maybe, I don't know, I haven't polled anybody, but maybe it would give people an opportunity to come because they could bring their kids, because they know they'd be out of here in time to get the kid home and get them to bed. I don't know.
Like he was saying, in your case, we would know after a few months, 6 months tops, if we don't see a child in this place. Commissioner Curry's theory is out. Is down
My
the drain.
point is out the
And
window.
then you're saying an example, in your case, it's an example that's in your, not you personally, but in your realm of people that have struggled to get here by 6. Maybe there are other examples of people that could easily get here by 6 that won't come at 7. So you're gonna have, it's gonna have a handful either way, but I'm on the fence either way. Doesn't matter to me, I'd come either way.
I think if we
I'm
given
gonna- I'm
a
gonna do
trial
some serious
period,
thinking about it next
Yeah.
week.
But if you took a picture of everyone that's in attendance in these meetings, there's less than 5
Pictures
people.
of Heidi.
There's
Yeah, I was
less.
gonna say, Heidi and Dave, yeah.
There's less
Be it
than.
everyone.
you'd have perfect attendance.
Tell you what,
There's less than.
Heidi and Dave can make it, and that should be our decision
No,
maker.
there's less than a handful of people that routinely visit these meetings. And I go on a limb that I think most of their schedules are very flexible and could be here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon if that's when we schedule them. Because most of the people that come here are retired. The only time that we have the chamber filled with people is when we're giving an accommodation, a recommendation, or there's something contentious. And if there's something contentious, people will be here at midnight if that's when we started it. If they're going to build a Walmart in your backyard, you're going to be here to address it no matter what time it is. So to to appease the masses, which there really aren't that many masses that come to our meetings, I don't think it matters when you start the meeting. So that's why I'm in favor of starting the meeting at 6 rather than 7. I don't see it inconveniencing any citizens that come here on a regular basis. That's my assumption. I could be wrong. They might call me next week and tell me.
Again, 3 months, you might
You know?
find yours is out the window.
Yeah, it might. I mean, so, I don't know.
I say if we give it a trial period of 3 to 6 months and we maybe evaluate it then and say, yep, it's working great, or no, this really was a sorry idea, Commissioner Penny, and we need to go back. I mean,
You could always make that motion
I
at any
don't see
meeting.
what the harm is in trying something.
Mayor, I don't think staff has made any recommendation or request,
They're not going to.
but I don't know. if
They're not going to.
But I got a feeling they're not hating the idea of us talking about it either.
Well, of course not. If my boss gave me an opportunity to go home an hour early,
Oh, I jumped
that's a
on it.
no-brainer.
Let's make something clear. Nobody said we're going home an hour early. We're just saying we're starting the meeting an hour early. You guys may talk till 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's true, right?
We won't get tired.
Can we throw some, like, little bullet points in there? All right, we start at 6, Commissioner Curry only gets 2 minutes, and
We can start
Not
timing.
always me.
I have the invocation next meeting, I'm gonna put together the perfect
Yeah.
intro, yeah. Okay.
Val, you can time us, right? You can throw the timer up.
So then let me ask you this, because like you said, you see the writing on the wall here. Do you want, the resolution was already written for the last meeting. Do you want me to modify that to say that we'll address it again in 3, 4, 6 months? Or do you want me to just leave it open that you can change it anytime you want?
We can always change it if we want.
Yeah, I
Anytime.
think change anytime.
I think
you
putting
want.
in there,
So you don't want me to put any time in for you to consciously review it?
We'll
Problem
know
is-
if it's not working.
in the past, every time there's been one of those reverter clauses put back, we'll remember 3 months. A perfect example is the gas station at LPGA in Ridgewood. We're gonna give them a 1-year extension on their non-conforming use, and we never addressed it, and so it just went on forever. So I'd say we're gonna be smart enough. If it's not working, someone's gonna bring it up. If it's
Better
major
believe it's gonna
inconvenience-
be me. 'Cause every meeting, it's not gonna work for me. I'm telling you that right now. It's gonna suck. But that's okay. So, all right.
Well, I'll bring the leftover pizza, and that'll give you something.
Yeah, right.
Honey.
All right. Is there anything further since we are in a workshop? Is there any, Joe? No? Any commissioner? Anything you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah, let me bring something up, Joe. Less than 3-minute conversation. You sent us an email about the overhead to underground time frame, and it looked to me as the amended spreadsheet. This time next year, it should be done,
Yeah.
based on all the yellow dots, the orange dots, and the red dots. How
Especially-
realistic is that?
Especially the red.
How realistic is it? When I got here in 2014, I thought we would be done in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just as an update, I got the survey for the property at 8th Street that we spoke about, that we have a problem with the location on the easements. And I spoke with the appraiser today to go ahead and get me an appraisal on the areas that have the potential taking. So that should be coming in the next couple of weeks. Haven't finalized with the attorney for the property at Walker and Ridgewood. That has not been done yet. So the last I heard, Antoine's here, was they're hopefully going to start, we have phase 1, which is LPGA to Walker. Within phase 1, they have 2 phases. They have Mason to 5th and 5th to Walker. So we're hoping that they're going to at least get started on that first section of the south end to keep this thing moving. But it's been very flat for a very long time. So that was the projected time frame. I would like to sit here and tell you that's what's going to happen, but that's their projection, and we'll see. We'll see how it moves along.
Good question.
Does that answer your question?
No, I think it's the same spreadsheet we've been looking at for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
They keep changing the
I've seen it
dates.
too. It just keeps moving back. And we're getting the coyotes out, right? Penny?
Well,
Yeah,
Get
the
a road
ironic
runner.
thing is we have coyote complaints in the
Yeah.
same neighborhood that we have cat complaints.
Yeah, I
That doesn't
received a
make
cat
sense to me.
complaint today
What?
on the same street. Yeah.
The exact same corner.
And there's 10 cats that they can't catch apparently outside. I'm surprised the coyotes
say
went
that.
to get them. I don't know. I don't know how true it is.
But hey, we saw, a couple go through our neighborhood, which I'm not that far from
Coyotes?
that farm, yeah.
They're actually becoming more and more prevalent in the state of Florida.
Wow.
They're like armadillos.
Can you shoot them, Chief?
The answer to that is there's an open season on coyotes 24/7. The question is whether or not you can fire a weapon in the city limits.
That's the problem.
Really?
Now, the question was, can you shoot them?
So only if you were in danger.
I don't know what the rule is, but when I looked on the FWC site, coyotes are subject to kill 24/7.
Wow.
Who?
The FWC.
Because there's nothing you can
Nothing
do.
you can do about it.
You can't just relocate them?
You can't trap them. They're not very easy to
They're
trap.
Oh, okay.
They're so skittish. You can't
So
hunt
what
them.
happens is they recommend that you
You have
remove
to shoot
any
them from a half a
potential
mile
food
away.
source.
Why?
They're so skittish.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they tell you to haze them to scare them out of there, and you'll push them. But all you're going to do is push them from one area to the next.
Right, they got rid of the homeless, give them the coyotes.
But they tend to not come near humans because they are skittish.
That new football team could change their name to Hollyhill Coyotes. Not the Cowboys.
We could recommend that.
Could recommend.
used to have a coyotes team or something?
Something. All right. Is there anything further?
It'd be nice if we could turn that property into a football field and then call them the Coyotes.
Hey, there we go. Anything further? No. With that, we are now adjourned.